Have you ever woken up to a quiet morning where the phone doesn't ring, where the house feels too still, and where the silence echoes louder than any voice? For many seniors, this isn't just a passing moment. It's the daily reality of living alone after 70. The calendar is no longer filled with appointments or family dinners, and even the neighbors seem to pass by like shadows. This is the hidden story of aging, not just the physical changes, but the emotional quiet that can slowly steal joy from life. But let me say this clearly and with certainty. Being alone does not have to mean being lonely. You don't need a busy household to feel alive. You don't need constant conversation to feel connected. What you do need are the right habits. The small daily anchors that keep your spirit strong, your mind engaged, your body moving, and your heart full. These are the choices that transform solitude into peace, silence into reflection, and aging into a chapter of independence, grace, and deep personal meaning. In today's video, we'll walk through 6 powerful daily habits that can help you build a life of fulfillment and resilience, even if you're growing old alone. But we won't rush. In the opening chapter, we discovered the gentle power of Greek yogurt, packed with muscle-preserving protein, sleep-sourcing calcium, and gut-healing probiotics. Then in the next chapter, we blended it with blueberries and raw honey, crafting an evening ritual full of nourishment and purpose. Tonight, as we reach the final chapter, we turn our attention to something equally vital: the foods to avoid before bedtime. These are more than routine, they are life lessons from the elderly, who've learned, often the hard way, that happiness after 70 is not something that happens by accident. It is something we choose, something we build, something we nourish every single day. If this message resonates with you, if you've ever felt that quiet ache of emptiness, or wondered how to make the next years of life feel more meaningful, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe, and turn on the bell icon. Your support allows us to continue creating senior stylist content. Now, let's begin. The first and most essential habit is to establish a daily routine. It might sound simple, perhaps even obvious, but don't underestimate the power of structure in the life of a senior. A routine is not about filling time with chores. It is about giving yourself purpose. When you wake up in the morning without a reason to get up, that's when time becomes your enemy. Days blend into night, hours slip through your fingers. The mind begins to wander, the spirit begins to dim, and slowly, without warning, life starts to feel like it's passing rather than being lived. But when you give yourself a routine, you reclaim control. You set the tone. You tell your mind and body, I still have things to do. I still have value. Let me share a story. Meet Charles, age 77. After his wife passed away, the house felt unbearable. He stayed in bed late, skipped breakfast, lost track of days. He watched too much television and spoke too few words. He thought this was just what life looked like after loss. But then one day, his granddaughter visited and asked a simple question. "Grandpa, what do you do every day?" That night, he sat down and wrote a schedule. Not for her, but for himself. It wasn't complicated. Wake at 7:30, make the bed, walk around the block, eat breakfast on the porch, call his daughter after lunch, read a book at 3, listen to music at 6, and go to bed after journaling one sentence about the day. That routine changed everything. It didn't bring back his wife. It didn't make him young again. But it gave his days meaning. He started sleeping better. He smiled more. His memory even seemed sharper. That's what routines do. They anchor us. They remind us that we are still participants in life, not just spectators. You see, elderly reflections often show that the happiest seniors are not the ones surrounded by people, but the ones who have built rituals that bring them comfort and direction. It can be as small as watering your plants every morning at 8:00, writing down a dream you had last night, or planning your meals in advance. These aren't just time silers. They are acts of senior independence. They are the quiet promises you make to yourself. I am here, my time matters. Science supports this too. A consistent daily routine improves mental clarity, boosts emotional regulation, and reduces the risk of depression in older adults. It's senior health rooted not in medicine, but in mindset. Now let's move to the second habit: prioritize physical movement every single day. And I want to say this with compassion and honesty. One of the biggest mistakes people make after 70 is slowing down too much. I know your knees ache, your back stiffens, and your energy isn't what it used to be. But here's what most people don't realize. Stopping movement accelerates decline. Muscles weaken faster, joints stiffen more, balance gets worse, and soon what was once a simple walk to the mailbox becomes a daunting task. I've met many seniors who told me I just needed a little rest, and weeks later they could no longer stand without help. Take Evelyn, 79, a woman who used to walk every morning with her dog. After a mild fall, she decided to stay inside. Just for a while. Days turned into weeks into months. Her body weakened more from stillness than from the fall itself. But the story doesn't end there. With her daughter's encouragement, she began again. First by standing up and sitting down 10 times every morning. Then walking to her mailbox. Then around the block. Today she moves better than she did before her fall. Because the body, even in old age, is hungry for movement. It wants to be used. It wants to feel useful. And movement isn't just about strength. It's about freedom. It's about being able to reach your own cabinets, climb into your own bed, go to the grocery store without help. That is senior motivation. That is dignity. And it doesn't take much. A 10-minute walk, gentle stretching, dancing to music in your kitchen, doing chores that keep you on your feet, even seated exercises with light hand movements, or using a resistance band while watching TV, can activate muscles, stimulate circulation, and send a powerful signal to your brain. I am alive and I am capable. In fact, recent research shows that just 15 minutes of movement daily in seniors can reduce risk of heart disease, dementia, and even depression by up to 30%. Movement protects not just your bones, it protects your mind. It builds resilience from the inside out. So if you're sitting here thinking, but I haven't moved in weeks, I want you to know it's not too late. The first step can be standing up right now. Stretching your arms overhead, rolling your shoulders, breathing deeply, and tomorrow doing 1 minute more. This is how inspiration begins. Not in grand plans, but in small, repeated action. Let me close this first chapter with a gentle reminder. Loneliness in our later years isn't always about the absence of people. Sometimes it's about the absence of feeling seen, heard, and understood. It's about feeling disconnected from your day, your body, and your purpose. But when you have a routine, and when you move your body, you reconnect with the rhythm of life. You wake up with a reason, you feel yourself participating in the world again, and that, more than anything else, keeps the heart beating, not just with blood, but with hope. Coming up next, we'll uncover 2 gentle but transformative habits. How simple moments of genuine connection can reignite emotional closeness, and how just a few minutes of daily mental stimulation can help safeguard your memory, uplift your mood, and preserve the essence of who you are. If you've felt disconnected from people, or feel like your mind isn't as sharp as it used to be, that's the part you absolutely cannot miss. Please share this video with someone you love. Comment below which of these first 2 habits will you try tomorrow. And if you're still here, let me say this. Thank you. You matter. You are not forgotten. You are part of a generation filled with elderly wisdom, and the world still needs your stories, your strength, and your presence. There comes a point in life when the phone stops ringing as often. The visits grow fewer, and many of the people who once filled your days slowly fade into memory. It doesn't happen all at once. Sometimes it's a friend who moves away. Other times it's the quiet loss of a spouse, a sibling, a neighbor you used to wave to every morning. Suddenly, the house feels too big, the silence feels too heavy, and the thought begins to creep in. Am I becoming invisible? That question, quiet but piercing, has haunted many seniors. But let's be clear, being alone does not mean being forgotten, and the most dangerous part of aging isn't physical. It's emotional disconnection. Loneliness is not just a feeling, it's a health risk. Studies have shown that prolonged social isolation increases the risk of heart disease, depression, weakened immunity, and even dementia. It can shorten life expectancy as much as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That's not just research, that's a wake-up call. But there's good news, and it's this. Human connection isn't about how many people are around you. It's about the quality of the moments you choose to create. That brings us to the 3rd habit. Stay socially engaged. Every day, even in the smallest ways. You might think, but I don't have many people left to talk to. That's okay. What matters isn't the number of conversations, but the intention behind them. A 5-minute phone call to a cousin, a wave and kind word to a neighbor, saying hello to the mail carrier. Even joining a small online community or hobby group can create the sense of belonging your heart quietly craves. Human beings are wired for connection, and at this stage of life, elderly reflections show that what keeps people going isn't status, money, or noise. It's the feeling that someone sees them, that someone hears their voice. Let me tell you about Margaret, 81. After her husband died, she went months without any meaningful conversation. Her children lived states away, and she didn't want to bother them. She stopped attending her local book club, thinking it would feel strange to go alone. But her world started to shrink. Her energy faded, her motivation disappeared. Then one day she called an old friend just to say hello. They talked for 12 minutes, and something clicked. The next day she joined an online group for women over 70. Then she started attending weekly community yoga. Now she calls someone every day, even if it's just to check in. Her loneliness didn't vanish overnight, but her heart opened again, and that made all the difference. Social engagement doesn't have to be loud or overwhelming. It can be one email, one video call, one card in the mail. If you don't have people nearby, the digital world offers beautiful opportunities. Online chess clubs, Facebook groups for seniors, virtual volunteering, even writing blogs or sharing your stories on senior platforms. You are not too old to connect. You're just one decision away from feeling seen again. And here's a little secret. Connection isn't just good for your emotions, it's good for your brain. Which brings us to habit number 4. Stimulate your mind daily. It's easy to think mental decline is a natural part of aging. And yes, memory changes are common. But the truth is, your brain is like a muscle. It thrives on use. It needs challenge. It needs novelty. It needs stimulation. When you stop feeding it new ideas, new conversations, new challenges, that's when it begins to slow. But when you keep it engaged, let's be clear. You don't need to go back to school. You don't need to learn calculus or master chess. Mental stimulation can be joyful. Reading a few pages of a book every morning, doing a crossword, trying to learn a few words of another language, writing in a journal, watching a documentary and taking notes. Even having a deep conversation that makes you think can light up your brain in powerful ways. Take Thomas, 80, a retired accountant. After retirement, he stopped reading and spent most of his time watching old movies. Slowly, he began forgetting names, dates, small details. His confidence slipped, but one day he joined a local trivia group for seniors. Every Thursday, they'd meet and play games that involved memory, puzzles, and facts. It didn't just bring back his sharpness, it gave him something to look forward to. That's the power of brain engagement. It reignites senior motivation. It helps you feel alive again. Cognitive exercises are not just about preserving memory. They're about protecting identity. When your mind is sharp, you feel more in control. You can make decisions, solve problems, and express yourself clearly. You feel less anxious, more empowered, more like yourself. And when that happens, your quality of life rises. So how can you stimulate your mind today? Start with what excites you. Love music, learn about composers, enjoy nature, watch a documentary about wildlife, curious about technology, ask your grandchild to teach you something new. Your brain doesn't need perfection, it needs curiosity. It needs movement, it needs your attention. Elderly wisdom teaches us this. When we stop learning, we start fading. Not because we grow old, but because we grow still. Keep learning and you keep living. Now I know for some of you, these suggestions might feel overwhelming at first. If you've been feeling stuck, numb, or unmotivated for weeks or months, even a small action can feel like a mountain. I want you to hear this clearly. You are not broken. You are simply tired of feeling empty. But inside you is still that spark, the part of you that wants to feel again, connect again, grow again, and you can. Not in one day, but through one choice, one habit, one moment at a time. Let's take a moment to reflect on what we've uncovered in this chapter. The quiet shifts that can reignite connection, the small mental habits that nourish clarity, and how tiny daily choices can ripple into lasting emotional and cognitive strength. Staying socially engaged, even in small ways, protects not just your heart but your health. It gives your life meaning beyond the walls of your home, and keeping your brain stimulated every day keeps your sense of self intact, your mood steady, and your future filled with possibility. These two habits, just like the first pair we explored earlier, aren't indulgences or optional extras. They're essentials, foundations, gentle anchors that help steady the mind and heart as we age. They are lifelines. They are acts of love you give yourself because you still matter. Your voice, your mind, your presence, they all still have purpose. And if you've been thinking, I'm too old to start over, let me tell you this. You're not starting over, you're starting forward. There is a difference. You're not erasing what came before. You're building on it with dignity, with courage, with hope. Coming up next, we'll uncover the final two habits, perhaps the most emotionally transformative of all. Nurturing gratitude in your daily life. and finding renewed purpose through helping others. These aren't just feel-good ideas. They're practices that can reshape your outlook, restore connection, and bring deep, lasting joy. These are the habits that bring light into your life. Even when the world feels dark, they're the ones that give meaning to pain, joy to routine, and peace to your soul. Please don't miss it. If this video touched something in you, comment below what's one way you can connect with someone today? Or one thing you'll do to stretch your mind? Let's learn from one another. Share your thoughts. They might be the inspiration someone else needs today. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe and support this journey of creating heartfelt, honest content for the senior community. You are not alone, and you are never too old to feel alive again. There's a quiet truth that many people don't discover until their later years. Real happiness doesn't come from what you gain. It comes from how you see what you already have, and what you give away without expecting anything in return. After 70, life has likely brought you both blessings and losses. You've had people walk beside you, and people leave too soon. You've seen days full of laughter, and nights where the silence made your heart ache. And through it all, the question often becomes, how do I find peace now? How do I wake up feeling grateful when so much of what I loved is already behind me? That's why habit number 5 is perhaps the most powerful one yet. Practice gratitude and reflection every single day. Not as a forced routine, not as a way to ignore pain, but as a deliberate act of love toward your own soul. You see, one of the most damaging habits seniors fall into is focusing only on what's been lost. Youth, relationships, health, purpose. But elderly wisdom teaches us this: there is always something to be thankful for. No matter your age, no matter your condition, no matter your past. Gratitude doesn't erase grief, but it softens it. It doesn't cure loneliness, but it puts it in context. Let's take the story of George, 80 years old, a retired firefighter who lost his wife of 52 years. For months, he struggled to get out of bed. Mornings felt empty. Even food had no taste. But one day during a counseling session, someone asked him, "What are 3 things that still bring you comfort?" He paused. Then he said, "The sound of birds in the morning, the smell of fresh coffee, and his granddaughter's laugh on the phone." From that day on, he began a new ritual. Every morning after breakfast, he would sit down and write 3 things he was grateful for. Some days it was something small, like warm socks. Other days it was a memory that still made him smile. Over time, his entire mindset shifted. He still missed his wife, but instead of waking up in sorrow, he began waking up in quiet appreciation. This is not about toxic positivity. This is about senior health, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Gratitude has been scientifically shown to lower blood pressure, improve sleep, reduce symptoms of depression, and even boost immunity in older adults. It's free, it's simple, and it takes only a few minutes. You can do it in your mind, you can write it in a notebook, or you can say it out loud before you go to sleep, whatever your style. Make it a daily habit, because every time you choose to notice what's good, you're training your brain to find joy, even when life feels heavy. But gratitude is only half the path. The 6th and final habit completes it. Help someone else every day in some small way. This might sound surprising. After all, isn't this the stage of life where others are supposed to help you? Isn't this the time when you've earned rest, not responsibility? Yes, you've earned peace. Yes, you deserve support. But one of the greatest secrets to senior happiness is this: when you shift your attention from your own sorrow to someone else's need, you create purpose. And purpose is what keeps the human spirit alive. Helping others doesn't mean building houses or starting a charity. It can be as simple as calling someone who's lonely, writing a kind message, sharing your life lessons with a younger person, holding space for someone who's grieving, encouraging another senior in your community who's just starting to feel the weight of solitude, even offering a smile at the grocery store or a wave to the kid walking home from school. You never know the power of your presence, your wisdom, your calm, your kindness. Let me tell you about Helen, 84. She used to be a nurse, fiercely independent, but after a fall left her using a walker, she stopped going out. She felt embarrassed, useless. One day her daughter asked if she'd be willing to volunteer once a week, just answering phones for a small charity that supported single mothers. She hesitated but said yes. And that 1 hour a week turned into something sacred. She didn't just answer phones. She gave advice, she shared stories. She reminded younger women that things could get better, that strength could come from pain. In helping others, Helen found herself again. You see, elderly reflections often reveal this truth. The happiest seniors are those who still give. Not because they have to, but because they can. You may no longer run marathons or manage a household, but you still have one of the most valuable things in the world, experience. And when you share that, you light a path for someone else. And here's the miracle of giving. It gives back. Acts of kindness release dopamine, lower cortisol, and increase life satisfaction. Helping others reduces feelings of helplessness and strengthens social bonds. It tells your mind, your heart, and your body, I still matter. I still have something to offer. That's not just emotion, that's biology, that's inspiration, that's the science of connection, and it is a key to true longevity, not just in years but in meaning. Let's reflect on what we've learned across this journey. Earlier, we built the foundation, structuring your days with movement and rhythm to protect your independence. Then we turned inward, nurturing the mind and heart through connection and mental engagement. And now we've reached the soul of it all, rediscovering joy through gratitude and finding meaning again by giving to others. This isn't just about aging well, it's about living fully at every stage. These are not small suggestions. These are powerful anchors in the storm of aging. They do not promise perfection, but they promise transformation if you're willing to show up for yourself every day. So what do you do now? You begin, one habit, one step, one moment. Maybe tonight you write down 3 things you're grateful for. Maybe tomorrow you call someone you haven't spoken to in years. Maybe next week you ask your local center if there's a way to volunteer your time, even from home. No action is too small. No effort is wasted. You are not at the end of your story. You are at the edge of a new chapter, one where you get to decide how it's written. With grace, with dignity, with presence. The world still needs your voice, your stories, your wisdom, and perhaps most of all, your light. If this video spoke to your heart, comment below. What are you most grateful for today? Let's inspire each other. Let's remind one another that life after 70 is not a slow decline. It can be a profound awakening, a season of reflection, of quiet power, of purpose rediscovered. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. Your presence here means more than you know. This channel is built to honor you, to share elderly wisdom, real-life lessons from the elderly, and to create a space where age is not a weakness, but a crown of experience. Thank you for being here with me. You are not invisible. You are deeply valuable, and you still have so much to give.